If you've been building n8n workflows manually, you should know that there are currently two ways to get AI to build them for you. One is using the Claude n8n MCP, and the other is using the native n8n workflow builder that's available in the latest version of n8n Cloud. Both are pretty impressive at generating workflows from natural language prompts. But the real question is, are they better than building manually, and which one comes out on top? In this video, I'll show you step by step how to configure the n8n MCP for Claude Desktop and connect it to your n8n instance. Then, I'll put both AI builders to the test by asking them to recreate some workflows I've built in the past. We'll see which one performs better and how close they are to actually getting production-ready workflows. Let's dive right in. First off, a quick intro to MCP in case you're not already familiar with it. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. It's Anthropic's open standard that allows Claude to securely connect to external tools and data sources. Think of it like giving Claude a set of specialized plugins. In our case, the MCP gives Claude direct access to your n8n instance, allowing it to read node documentation, validate workflows, and even create and modify workflows directly through the API. So, can you get Claude to generate n8n workflow without connecting it to n8n MCP? Yes, you can, but you'll often get subpar results because there'll be missing gaps in Claude's context. Now, in order to get started with Claude n8n MCP, there are three things you need to install into your system. Number one, Node.js. Now, what is Node.js, and why do we need to install Node.js? Node.js is basically a software that allows JavaScript code to run on your computer, outside of a web browser. Normally, JavaScript only runs on the browser, but Node.js lets it run directly on your machine. Without Node.js, the MCP server simply can't run. It's like trying to play a DVD without a DVD player. Node.js is a DVD player, and the MCP server is a disk. You need both to make it work. Second, you need to install Claude Desktop because that's how it's going to access the tool that's associated to n8n MCP. And third, of course, the n8n MCP itself. We're going to go to GitHub and grab the installation package. And if you're watching this video, I'm assuming that you already have an account set up on n8n, and if you haven't and you're completely new to n8n, please check out my previous videos that I'll link up here and down in the description below. It's just to guide you through the foundational concepts that you at least need to know before starting to work with n8n. But in this case, the first place that we want to head to is actually the n8n-mcp.com documentation page. And of course, you can jump onto the GitHub page directly, but I just thought this might be the easier way to approach it. And I'll link the same page down in the description below as well. So when you head over to n8n MCP, you can see that actually the prerequisite for it is Node.js. So what you want to do is then head over to nodejs.org/en/download. So that just leads you to the English documentation. And there are two ways to do this. You can obviously go to your terminal and paste in the command lines here. But in this case, because there is actually a pre-built package for Mac OS or Windows or Linux, whatever system that you're using. In this case, I'm using a Mac, so I'm just going to install the Mac OS installer, open up the package. I'm going to hit continue and just install it as I would, agree to the terms and install the package here. So there you go, just go through the steps and the installation is completed. So now that we have Node.js installed on our computer, head over back to the page earlier, which is n8n MCP, and now you can essentially run this one-line command into your terminal. So if you open up the terminal, and on Mac, what you'll do is just go over and search, type in terminal, and it will show up, and hit that. A terminal is just a text interface for your system. So instead of clicking buttons, you're just typing in your command line into the terminal. And before Windows and all the user interface that we have today, we actually only had the terminal to type in. This was a long, long time ago. Don't know if any of you remember that. But yeah, so it's nothing scary. It's essentially doing the same thing in a text format. So what you want to do is, again, you want to copy the npx n8n-mcp and then literally just copy that into your terminal here and hit enter. And what's going to happen is I'm going to blow this up so you guys can see it. It's going to ask whether it can proceed with the installation. So I'm going to click yes or enter Y as yes. And it's going to go ahead and download the entire n8n MCP package. So once that's done, what you want to do is head over to claude.com/download. So go ahead and download that to your desktop and you should be good to go. So now once you have your Claude Desktop installed, what you see is going to be a chat like this, and where you want to head to is to the bottom left-hand corner here. Just click the down arrow and hit settings. And under here, you want to go to developer. And in this case, you want to go to edit config. So we just hit edit config, and what happens is it will lead you to the configuration file .json here. So what you want to do is just right-click that, and you can edit it with any code editor that you like. But in this case, I'm going to use a text editor. And when you open it up, it's going to be a blank file. So what you want to do is to head over back to n8n-mcp.com page. And as you're scrolling down, remember this is the line
that we use to install the n8n MCP. What you want to do is to scroll down to the full configuration part. And this is a whole code chunk here that you can copy. So you want to copy the entire thing and head back to your text editor. And what you want to do is just paste the entire chunk over here. So don't be intimidated by the code chunk. There are only two things that you want to pay attention here, which is the n8n-API URL and n8n API key. So for the API key, where you can get this is to go back to your n8n space and go to the bottom left-hand corner here and hit the three red dots and go to settings. And where you want to go is the n8n API section. And here, as you can see, I already have two API keys set up, but if it is your first time, it's going to be blank. And then what you do is you can create API key, and we can call it MCP demo key. And you can choose the expiration date of the API keys or no expiration at all, and also the scopes of the API keys. But I'm going to leave everything as is right now, and I'm just going to click save. And as you can see, the API key is here for us to copy over. And of course, I'm going to revoke this afterwards, but go over to your text editor, and what you can do is just paste the entire API key over here, right? And then for the n8n API URL, this is basically the URL of your workspace. So in this case, it's going to be automatewithmarc.app.n8n cloud. So I'm just going to copy this part without the /settings/API, right? So go back to my text editor and just paste it into your text editor so that it ends with .cloud with the /. You want to hit Command Save, and it's essentially you're good to go. And now when you get back to the chat, you should actually be able to see that under the Search and Tools button here, that you have the n8n MCP tool installed, right? So you just want to toggle that on, and you'll be good to go. So that's an easy way to install the n8n MCP onto your Claude desktop and connect it to your n8n instance. So now I'm going to try to ask it to create a simple workflow of an AI stock market research agent, which I've built before in my past video, and I'll link it up and down in the description below as well. But essentially, we just want to take it to a test run and then compare it with the native n8n AI builder and see which one comes out on top with a simple build like this. So in my prompt, I've given it the description of what I want the workflow to do, which is create an AI stock market research agent that's triggered when asked on a specific Telegram channel. The agent would infer the Telegram input from the user to research the right stocks or assets that's of interest. Use Perplexity tool to carry out latest research, return the latest research or news to the same Telegram chat. So just to be very specific, I would add create an n8n workflow of AI stock market research agent, just to be sure that it's creating an n8n workflow for me here, because Claude is a very generic purpose LLM, right? So I'm going to pick Sonnet 4.5 because it's currently the most advanced model as of this recording. So I'm going to hit enter on that. Okay, as you can see, it understands that I wanted to create an n8n workflow. So the very first step for Claude, after it gets the access to the n8n MCP, is to actually validate all the codes, right? So it will go into the n8n MCP and check what are the latest documentations around nodes, so that it's not hallucinating or it's not making up facts or using information that was not recent. So therefore, it will give you the most appropriate recent solution or workflow according to the latest n8n version. So it's actually telling you the steps that it's taken. It's trying to get information on the nodes, okay? After it gets all the most recent information, so this is always up to date because it gets the information first, and then it goes on and create the workflow. All right, so now it wants to use tool documentation from n8n MCP. I'm gonna hit always allow here. And that might pop up a couple times, so you might not wanna just toggle away from the page and go do something else as it's working on it, because it will be asking you for approval to use some of the tools that are in there. Here we go. Okay, so now it seems like it's got all the nodes figured out. So it's going into my n8n instance and trying to create a workflow in that particular instance. So it does sometimes error out. So there you go. When it does encounter an issue connecting to your n8n instance, it will actually give you the entire JSON workflow for you to copy over to n8n yourself. It does happen from time to time, but ideally, if everything's connected well and there were no errors, it will actually create the workflow directly on your instance. So I'm just going to copy this and go into my workflow now and just paste that in. So as you can see, it's got a bunch of nodes here. Let me just dissect that. Let's move it here. It's got the stock research agent correct. It's got the OpenAI chat model connected. However, the Perplexity research tool is disconnected. So it seems like it knows that the tool belongs somewhere, but it's not connected to anything. So yeah, ideally it should be connected here under Perplexity tool. and have things defined by AI, so or with the master model, so that it can actually use this tool to do the research. So it's maybe 90% there, but let's see how AI Builder performs when given the exact set of prompts. So as you can see, the way you would access AI Builder is simply when you log into your workflow. And again, if you don't see this, means you're not on the latest version. So you want to be on the latest version of n8n Cloud. It's only available on n8n Cloud. It's not available if you're self-hosted, but essentially you would hit build with AI. So here we're going to give it the exact same prompt that we gave to Claude Desktop with the n8n MCP and see how it goes. So one thing to note is that this actually exhausts the credits on a monthly basis. So just want to make sure that you're noted on that every time you run this, it's going to exhaust some credits. So immediately what I'm seeing is that it's working a lot quicker. So it's going through, obviously it doesn't need to check whether the latest information on the nodes are correct. It is natively in n8n, so you know that it's correct. And immediately I'm seeing that connections are a lot better. I don't see any nodes that are disconnected or are independently somewhere. So it's even telling you how to set it up, right? The Telegram trigger and everything. So let me just move this. And in fact, I can almost run this in, let's try to execute workflow. So, okay, so obviously, it's not, because some of these credentials are no longer valid. Okay, so I've connected it to a Telegram account that works. So this is a Telegram account here. So I've just punched in test and it's receiving as test in the trigger here, right? Okay, and then let's run this particular node. And I haven't opened it up to see what the system is. Again, I haven't configured that Telegram either, the Telegram tool. So here we want to pick the right one, which is Telegram account 5. We'll rerun that, but let me see just what it did with the system message. You are a stock market research assistant. When a user asks about stock or an asset, use Perplexity tool. Okay, it's a pretty decent system prompt. And when compared to the one generated by Claude, it's a lot more structured, a lot more comprehensive. So you have that, when it comes to system prompt, but of course the note for Perplexity was the wrong note. It was not the tool note that can be used by the master agent. But in this case, the system prompt isn't as ideal, but it's doing the right things with the node. So I'm going to run this. Okay, so it's not using the Telegram tool either. So ideally what you want to do is instead of having this as a tool, I would have a Telegram send message so that it is more deterministic in terms of what it will do when it gets the news, right? So I want it always to send a message out. So I don't want it to have an option. So when I attach it as a tool to the agent, it actually has an option not to use it, depending on whether the agent feels that it needs to use the Telegram to reply, right? And sometimes it can hallucinate. So I'm going to run just this one node right here. And I want to just drag this output into the chat ID. Sorry, not the chat ID. And I want to drag just this output to the text so that it replies to the same Telegram ID. In this case, I want to take the update ID into the chat ID. So as you can see, there are a couple manual configurations that you still need to do to make sure that the workflow works, right? So there's a problem here, of course, because I actually dragged the update ID for the Telegram ID, which is a different ID from the chat. So the chat ID should be this one actually. So I'm gonna hit execute step. Now that works. So let's go to our Telegram chat now. And as you can see, it says, hello, how can I assist you today? If you want to test something specific, let me know. All right, so let's see if I were to tell it, or before I do that, let me just open up the Telegram trigger and hit execute step, and then go back to my Telegram. What can you tell me about NVIDIA stock today? Okay, so I'm just gonna type that in. So it's getting that. Oh, I should have executed the entire workflow, but okay. So I'm just gonna run this node. Then there was a problem with Perplexity. So it's not actually letting the model decide how to use the Perplexity tool. So again, some configuration required there. I'm gonna hit execute workflow again, okay? And gonna retype that text into Telegram. So this time it's actually running now that it's configured properly. So it's doing the research with the Perplexity tool just as intended before kicking it out to Telegram. So there we go. NVIDIA stock is trading approximately, all right, yeah, pretty good summary. But again, as you can see, both models get you about 80 to 90% there. You still need to go into these nodes and make sure the configuration is correct. But of course, that also takes into account the fact that I have many credentials that I need housekeeping on. If you only have one credential that works, that saves you a lot of time. But as you can see, when we went into the Perplexity tool, it's not automatically toggled to letting the agent or the model decide what to do with the tool. And I think the system prompt could have been better. In my opinion, the system prompt for the Claude one is a lot more comprehensive. and it provides clear instruction as to what to do. So I really like that. There are some pros and cons for the two AI builders, but the point is, at this current state, both the AI builder and the Claude n8n MCP has some limitations in terms of building production-ready workflow. It does need a lot of manual configuration going in there to troubleshoot. So knowing the foundations of n8n, knowing how to connect things, over HTTP request node and stuff like that, definitely is going to benefit you. And of course, this example only covers the native nodes right now. So when you get into the territory of external tools with HTTP requests and their own API documentations, it's just going to make the challenge even harder. The AI oftentimes will hallucinate on the API documentation that's required to call a certain external tool. So a lot more manual work will have to go in there. So take both for a spin and let me know what you think. Whether you think the native n8n AI workflow builder is better than the Claude n8n MCP, or if you think old school manual builds is the best way to go. I hope this is helpful, and if you find this content useful, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.